All right, today I have an incredible interview with the great Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, we want to get into topics such as the Biden administration, the Russia-Ukraine Putin situation, a little bit about Donald Trump and the upcoming election. Now, I don't want to catch you off guard because this story just broke about 10 minutes ago. But according to Daily Mail, Republican Representative James Comer says he has new evidence and international whistleblowers that President Joe Biden had a pay-to-play scheme going on while acting as vice president. So essentially, he's saying that these foreign people would, in exchange for money, require foreign policies and manipulation, for lack of a better word, of Congress in order to push money in certain directions. What are your thoughts on this story? And is anyone ever going to be held accountable with the law in Washington, D.C.?
Well, great questions. Is anyone ever going to be held accountable? You're held accountable when you're unpopular, like Jack Teixeira or Donald Trump. You're not held accountable when you do the government's bidding. I mean, the same week that Teixeira is alleged to have been the leak of the documents, Victoria Nuland, she of the 2014 Ukraine coup, she of the first Trump impeachment, she now the Deputy Secretary of State for Political Affairs, gave a press conference at which she revealed all kinds of top secrets about what we know about the Russians in Crimea, their troop strength in Crimea, the location of their drones in Crimea. All of that is top secret information. She revealed it, but she did so in support of the Biden administration. So she's not going to be prosecuted. Secretary of Defense Austin probably lied under oath because he was aware of the existence of I'll call them the Teixeira documents at the time he told the Senate Armed Services Committee, oh, don't worry, Ukraine's doing fine. Fully aware that his senior military staff, like the Joint Chiefs of Staff, were of the conclusion that Ukraine is doing terribly, and the Russians have almost totally degraded its air offenses. He knew all of that in those documents at the time he testified. He's not going to be held accountable because all of this was in furtherance of the narrative of the administration in power. Now, will Joe Biden ever be exposed to whatever he did with Ukraine to have them pay his son? I've heard numbers of $30,000 a month. I've heard it up to $80,000 a month. It's almost inconceivable to me that the son that we know from his public image is worth anywhere near that to anyone. Look, if he took money and gave money to Ukrainian officials in return for either political favors or personal favors, well, that would be a form of bribery. Depending upon when it happened, the statute of limitations is probably expired. The 5-year statute of limitations for federal crimes, there are some crimes that are different. Tax crimes are different, but for this, it would be 5 years. So it's probably expired. So he would be exposed and humiliated, but can't be prosecuted. Now, I'm aware of this news report. You're right, it came out right before we started our interview. I haven't seen the documents. I don't think Congressman Comer has even seen the documents. If he has, he hasn't revealed them. But a lawyer would have to look at these documents and listen to this whistleblower in English before making sophisticated analysis, other than to say the statute of limitations is 5 years, and Joe Biden left the vice presidency more than 5 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of interesting, the story that is coming out, because it does coincide, as you say, with the Hunter Biden. Okay, he gets Congress to inject billions of dollars into Ukraine's energy industry, and then suddenly his son, with no experience, is offered a board member seat making $80,000 a month. And we know he had to have been making good money because just this week, a judge revealed that his child support payments for this child that Joe Biden refuses to accept as his 7th grandchild, the child support's $20,000 a month. So you've got to be making well over $20,000 a month.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I'm the unhappiest time of my judicial career is when I did matrimonial cases. 20,000 a month means you're probably making 75, 80, 90, 100,000 a month. That's a lot of money. I don't know how he would have been making that money, but at some point, either he agreed to that or a judge ordered that. Now he says he's not making that money anymore. He needs the money for legal defense of the other criminal prosecutions of him in Delaware, and he asked the court to lower the finances or lower his obligation. That triggered uh, the mother of the child. She's not his wife or even his former wife. That triggered this lady's response. Well, show me what you're earning and what you were earning. And he, of course, doesn't want to cough up those documents, so he's in a bit of a pickle. If he had continued paying the 20,000, if he has it, none of this would be coming to the attention of the news media.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Um,
Um,
do you think if Biden is by some miracle able to win in 2024, have a second term as president, do you think he'll be able to finish that because an anonymous staffer from the White House told the press that he's getting harder and harder to work with and control, especially in the morning, the evening, and the weekends, which basically only leaves the early afternoon? Is his energy level going down? Is his mental acuity going down?
I'll tell you a story. I have spent 16 years on various law school faculties, and my first assignment was Delaware Law School. I was a young full-time professor. I was a young professor full-time. I wasn't a full professor. I was an associate professor or assistant professor, whatever the initial title is. There was an adjunct on the faculty, part-time, whom the rest of us thought didn't belong on a law school faculty at all. Students liked him because of his personality, and he and I got along well, even though this guy did not belong on a law school faculty. It was Joe Biden.
Okay.
The law school was paying him whatever the maximum is that members of Congress can earn as outside income to teach basically a BS course. This happens all the time. Even Supreme Court justices do it. The point of my story is he and I became good friends. 15 years later, when I was at Fox and being sent to DC on a regular basis, he would hold a seat for me on the Acela. That's the high-speed train from Boston to New York to DC. That Joe Biden is the same body, but a profoundly different human being from the one that's in the White House. That was an Irish Catholic, pro-life, moderate JFK with conservative cultural instincts Democrat. The present Joe Biden is not mentally equipped to be president and is a tool of those around him. I am surprised that he said he's going to run with Kamala Harris, because whoever he runs with, if they win, I think will become the president of the United States. I don't think Joe can stand another 4 years of this. And I say this as somebody who loved our friendship, but he's a different human being. I heard about this whistleblower. Who knows what her or his animus is, but it's believable, Steve.
Yeah.
It's believable. Now, can he win? I think there's only one way he can win, and that's if the Republicans nominate Trump. And then the issue in the campaign is not his horrible stewardship of the executive branch, is bringing us into the early stages of World War III with Russia, his driving inflation through the roof, his over-regulation of American behavior in the first years through COVID, and now through the administrative agencies that he controls. It will be Trump's personality, Trump's character, and Trump's criminality. Those will be the issues. And on those issues, Trump will, in my view, will lose.
Okay.
Any other Republican will beat Joe, just for the 4 or 5 reasons that I ticked off. His stewardship of the government is indefensible.
Okay. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You brought up Fox News. I want to just get some feedback from you. With what we saw with Tucker Carlson, none of us really know the full story, but I have heard that Rupert Murdoch has a personality that likes to show that he is still the top dog, that he is the boss and owner of Fox. And so here he was willing to let go the most popular weekday person, and also Dan Bongino, the most popular weekend person. What do you think, other than exerting his dominance as the owner and controller of Fox, what do you think the real reason is for letting Tucker Carlson go? Or was it a mutual decision to step apart from each other?
Well, I don't think it was a mutual decision, and I have no criticism of Rupert Murdoch. He's a brilliant and gifted boss who created Fox out of thin air, and everything he touches turns to gold. If it's about to turn to dust, he manages to sell it before it turns to dust, if you know what I'm talking about. I think that Tucker said some things in his texts and emails that were surrendered to the lawyers. The lawyers redacted the offensive language, surrendered them to the judge. In the Dominion case, the judge said, let me see them unredacted. He looked at them and said, okay, you can redact this stuff. And the lawyers made the mistake, and they're in hot water for this with management, of not sharing it with management. So the judge knew about this stuff. The Dominion lawyers knew about this stuff. Fox's lawyers knew about this stuff. Carlson probably forgot what he wrote. Who can remember every text and email you've written? But Fox management didn't know about it. Shortly before the case was settled, Fox management, to its outrage, learned about this. And then I guess Mr. Murdoch decided this is going to come out, and it would be better if we get ahead of the story rather than behind it. So knowing Rupert Murdoch as I do, and I'm a big fan of his, I think this was a business decision. I don't think this had anything to do with ego. You know, you work for him. There are times when I was angry because they wouldn't let me say what I wanted to say, but they own the microphones and the cameras and the control rooms. I don't. I'm just an employee.
Yeah.
It was a shock because he was the king of the hill. Yeah. When Newsmax asked me about it right after he was let go, before I knew what I now know about the reason for his departure, I said firing Tucker Carlson because of some private texts is like the 1927 Yankees firing Babe Ruth because of his table manners. And that's pretty much what it was, except we are in an era where private texts or table manners, when they offend some people, can affect the bottom line. And Rupert Murdoch is great about protecting the bottom line of his investors' investments.
Okay. Yeah, because I had to put on my entrepreneur business owner hat for a minute and think, okay, if you have somebody who has soured on the company's approach, and you've got a toxic employee, as good as they are, they can poison the rest of the people around them. And maybe that's what they were worried about was, okay, if it's in the texts, then it's going to start leaking out in his broadcast style. And so maybe it was just, we've got to just cut him and let go here.
I had many encounters with Roger Ailes. This was a grade C student at a grade C college, was one of the smartest human beings I've ever known. And he saw me down in the dumps one day. He said, "What's the matter?" He said, "You know what? I want you to pretend to be happy, because people will follow your lead. You cannot be grumbly or down in the dumps. People will follow your lead. You want to be cheerful, even if you're not really cheerful." I expect the same attitude animated Rupert Murdoch. If he is infecting Fox employees with extraordinary negativity about management, that will spread. If he infects Fox employees with extraordinary cheerfulness about management, that will spread.
Okay, so it could have gone either way. I saw some meme, and I didn't personally watch Tucker Carlson, so I don't have any skin in the game on this either way. But I did see a meme where it showed him and it said Tucker Carlson just getting started, and then it showed Don Lemon, career ended. Do you think that they will both go on to have successful careers, or do you?
Another thing that Ailes taught us, and not all my Fox colleagues complied with this, is to have friends on the other side of the aisle. So Don Lemon and Rachel Maddow, for that matter, are dear friends of mine. I am a big fan of Don Lemon. He knows what his audience wants to hear. He's extremely talented, and he knows how to present it in a way faithful to his values, which are not always the same values I have, and in an articulate and compelling way. So he'll be back. I don't know where, when, or how, but he'll be back as well. And Carlson will probably be back making twice what Fox was paying him. He's very much in demand on the right side of things.
Yeah,
it depends on how they fired him.
Okay.
He has a contract that goes for 3 more years. But they buy out the contract in one check, he's free as a bird as soon as he cashes that check. But if they choose to pay him over the next 3 years, the contract is still in effect. He cannot do any media in that time period. So they can, in an effort to diminish him, effectively silence him. They did this to Lou Dobbs for the next 3 years.
Oh, okay. I wondered where Lou Dobbs went. I know that there was something with the Dominion situation. Did you see that Tucker Carlson had an offer from Valuetainment for $100 million? I don't know how that was spread. If that was, I doubt it was per year, but 100 million, my goodness.
Yeah, that makes O'Reilly seem like a pauper. Don't let him hear that. I did not see that, and honestly, I don't know who or what Valuetainment is. Are they good for that kind of money?
Yeah, they're a big podcasting group that used to be one of the largest life insurance firms, and they're shifting over into entertainment. So anyway, okay, I know we're getting short on time here. There was an alleged assassination attempt on Vladimir Putin, believing that he was in Moscow at the Kremlin sleeping. It was unsuccessful. Some say it's real, some say it's Russian propaganda. However, I think the bigger story is, for the first time, former President Dmitry Medvedev is calling for Russian troops to take out Zelenskyy. And I, from what I've heard from Scott Ritter, from what I've heard from Colonel McGregor, Zelenskyy is alive because of Putin at this point. They've allowed this, but now it seems that they've crossed a line with this drone attack in Moscow. Do you think that there's any teeth behind this, or is this just good political theater on TV?
Well, I don't think it was a false flag. I think it was really the Ukrainians. It was a tepid, a lukewarm, effectiveless attack, but it shows how close they can get. I mean, as you know, the last time there were bombs over the Kremlin was 1941, and it was the Nazis. They had not seen anything like that. These things came on the day before their 4th of July, their celebration of the triumph of the old Soviet Union over the old Third Reich. So it was an insult. Now, as for former President Medvedev, I think he's playing good cop or bad cop to Putin's good cop. I mean, he said things like, our troops are going to go all the way to the Polish border and maybe cross the border, and we really will have to do so because we have to make sure that Ukraine is not in NATO. We may even have to remove Poland from NATO. I mean, that would really start World War III, but he does say things like that, and I think he says them shrewdly and with President Putin's consent to make Putin appear moderate by comparison. And I agree with my colleagues that Putin is that the reason Zelenskyy is alive because Putin won't let anybody touch a hair on his head. If they wanted to knock him off, if they wanted to level Kyiv, they could do it, but he doesn't want to do either of those things.
Okay.
He just wants Eastern Ukraine, and then he wants to be rid of this. course, you have Victoria Nuland, the Deputy Secretary of State for Political Affairs, who wants the Russians to invade Crimea with American support. I mean, the chances of that are about as great as the Chinese invading Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe Dmitry Medvedev is the snarling Rottweiler on a chain, and Putin's the one calmly holding him back. Maybe it is like where he's not the official president anymore. He can get away with some of this dramatic
Yes.
language, where Putin, by contrast, looks very calm and put together.
Yes, he is their Jake Sullivan. I don't think he's the national security advisor. He may be number 2, and they may have 3 of them. But he's pretty high up in the Putin administration, so high up that I can't imagine he'd be saying these things without Putin's knowledge and consent.
Okay. Well, I know you have to run. Thank you so much for being generous with your time and the information.
Oh, Steve, you have a great show, and I'm absolutely thrilled that you have me on. Put in a plug for Judging Freedom, because I love you and I'm envious of your audience.
Oh, well, check out Judging Freedom. I'll leave a link to your channel. I watch it regularly. It's very, very insightful. Thank you again, Judge, for coming on today.
All the best, my friend. Anytime.
Bye-bye.